very, very difficult man to beat. If he should get the lead, Scott Sharp is not one to be known to be very brave or aggressive at the start, so he could play a cat and mouse situation. But those two, for sure, will be two of the strongest all afternoon.
Scott Sharp says, I want 10 poles this year. He's already lost the first of the year to a man making his Trans Am debut, Robbie Gordon. It should be a great race, and we'll be bringing it to you all day long when we return to a newly remodeled circuit here at Long Beach. ESPN coverage of the Tide Trans Am Tour from Long Beach is brought to you by Kenwood for the ultimate listening experience in your home or car. And by Goodyear, #1 in tires. We'll be back to introduce the starting grid and take the green flag in the first race of the 1992 Trans Am Tour. Stay with us. Back in Long Beach, California, one pace lap to go before we take the green flag in the Tide Trans Am Tour race. 82 degrees, 55% humidity, a light breeze, and no chance of rain whatsoever. Right now, let's take a look at our starting grid. On the pole, Robbie Gordon in his Trans Am debut with a Ford Mustang with a lap at 91.047 miles an hour at his elbow. The defending series champion in a Camaro, Scott Sharp from Norwalk, Connecticut. On row 2, Stuart Hayner, a bit of a surprise, the Californian in a Chevy Camaro, next to the Ford Mustang of Ron Fellows from Toronto, Canada. On row 3, Tommy Archer in the #5 spot with one of those new Dodges. Next to him, Paul Gentilozzi from Lansing, Michigan, the '88 winner here in Long Beach. On row 4 will be Greg Pickett from Alamo, California, the '78 Trans Am champion in a Camaro, next to the similar car of George Robinson, last year's most improved driver from Houston, Texas. On row 5, Jack Baldwin, Scott Sharp's teammate, an identical Camaro, next to Les Lindley from Anaheim, California, with 120 career Trans Am starts. Row 6 will be Randy Ruhlman, next to Wayne Akers. On row 7, Jim Durhag and Bobby Archer. Row 8, Deborah Gregg, the only female driver in the field, along with Michael Dingman, the oldest driver at age 61. Row 9, Bob Patch and Wally Owens. On 10, Steve Anderson next to Courtney Smith. Row 11 will be NFL superstar Walter Payton next to R.J. Valentine. Row 12, Mike Downs and Jerry Clinton. Row 13, 60-year-old Andy Poterfield and John Anderson. And on the 14th and final row, Glenn Fox and Skip Panzarella. Let's take a look at how this street course has changed in the last year, Derek.
One of the most popular street racing circuits in America, but it has changed. It was 11 turns. Now they've taken out the very difficult and bumpy square section you see here at the top of your picture, which went under the car park of the Hyatt Hotel. Now they've made it a long back straight, which is much, much faster. And really, from what I can gather from everybody likes it, but the racetrack is much faster.
On the left, Robbie Gordon, the pole sitter, in the red Whistler Mustang. On the right, the yellow Duracell Camaro, the defending series champion, Scott Sharp.
And on street racing, I was going to say it's so important to get full advantage of that pole position, but look at Scott Sharp. Immediately, he gets a tremendous jump on Robbie Gordon.
Now, these drivers have different tire combinations in their car. Robbie Gordon off to the right. He will come through that first turn. In third place is Ron Fellows, and the blue #4 Mustang moves up through the turns 1 and 2 complex.
Stu Hayner took avoiding action under heavy braking for turn 1 there. I think he thought that he was going to get hit by Paul Gentilozzi as he came down the outside, but Stu Hayner ran from that car and in fact lost a couple of positions.
Bit of a surprise there. Robbie Gordon gave up first and second positions in the first corner.
Here's this long back stretch. This is the new section here at Long Beach. They've taken out the piece that went in under. Oh, bumping and boring there. That's Tommy Archer, #3 in the Dodge. Bit of bumping and boring. Test the bodywork there. But that was the new section that they cut out. You used to go under the bridge, under the car park at the Hyatt Hotel.
There's a look at Scott Sharp, just 24 years of age, a second-generation racer. His father, Bob Sharp, is a 6-time SCCA national champion. Right now, it's a two-man race up front, Dirk.
And look at Ron Fellows. And look what Sharp does. Look at him move to the inside, then he goes back out. We're now inside Ron Fellows' car. This is exactly what he sees. Look at Scott Sharp. Dabs the brakes, dabs them again. Now he's hard on the power. This is one of the slowest sections here. Dabs the brake again. This is all second gear stuff here, about 50 miles an hour.
There are 4 basic motor and carburetor combinations in Trans Am. No fuel injection in the series this year, as SCCA officials seek to limit costs and keep the car count up for the races. The cars weigh anywhere from 2,450 pounds to 2,650, depending on engine displacement. Fellows looking down the inside now. Scott Sharp, he'll take the position.
Oh, a very brave, a good move. That's very, very bumpy down the inside of there. They approach that corner above 150 miles an hour, but a very, very sweet move by Ron Fellows.
In the final turn, that sharp hairpin, the cars will get a little bit tail happy all day long as the drivers get on the throttle again and call up 600 horsepower as fast as they do.
This car that Ron Fellows is in is run by Tom Gloy. We've been very familiar with his name over the last couple of years competing himself. Now he runs a race team, but look what's going on behind. Paul Gentilozzi trying to fend off the attack from Stu Hainer, comes down the inside of the racetrack trying to defend that fourth position.
Paul Gentilozzi won this race back in 1988 when Scott Pruitt ran out of gas here at Long Beach. But you take him any way you can get him. Hainer all over the back of Gentilozzi's car now.
This is this long run now down this back section. Now Stu Hainer needs to come down the inside. It's the most difficult thing to do on this racetrack though, and he doesn't get the job done there. Can't quite get close enough to Paul Gentilozzi, who comes back to Trans Am Racing because this year his main focus is the IMSA GTS series.
And he had some unkind things to say about the Trans Am series. He said it was kind of low rent, you know, not a lot of high-tech equipment. And he angered a lot of people in the series. I'm a little bit surprised to see Paul Gentilozzi in the pits this weekend, much less on the racetrack.
I think Stu Hainer missed a gear. I'm sure he missed a gear coming out of the hairpin. He moved over to the right side, lost a lot of momentum, and then lost that position to Greg Pickett.
Greg Pickett, who won the Drivers' Championship way back in 1978. And it looks like Stu Hainer has some more problems. Looked like he was going straight on there, but apparently not.
We saw Stu Hainer run so well last year. In fact, he liked this car so much. He went and bought the car, the equipment, the team, everything bar the building from Bruce Sanders up in Portland, and basically came down to California, set up his own team with his good friend Jeff Davis. So now he's an owner driver.
Good luck there at Greg Pickett, another owner driver in the series this year. Switched from V6 to V8 engines last year, and by his own admission, wasn't very good. Came back this year, though. He has 14 Trans Am victories to his credit, and he wants to pick up another one here today at Long Beach. Good look from high overhead as they head down Shoreline Drive, touching 175 miles an hour. Plenty of action still to come from Long Beach, California. Long Beach, this is the battle for second place. The number 33 car of Scott Sharp and Robbie Gordon. We thought the battle was going to be between these two guys, but you saw that blue Ford Mustang go out the bottom of your screen, and that is Ron Fellows, the Canadian, opening up about a 3-car length advantage.
Quick dab of the brakes. We saw those brake lights pop on there. These are two of the future stars of American racing right here. Very successful in every class of racing they've gone into. And we have problems down in the back section here.
Number 42. Hard against the wall. That's Skip Panzarella from Melville, New York. The last starter in this field.
It's difficult to see what happened to the car. We did see some blue smoke and some dust. That could have been just from driving offline. But he's clear. He's out of the car. He's okay. That's the most important thing.
He stopped by that course marshal crawl through, so we can guess that was probably a mechanical problem for Skip Panzarella. Short day for him. Meanwhile, back up front at the bottom of your screen in the blue car, Ron Fellows. Then Scott Sharp.
Ideal situation here for Ron Fellows. He can see Robbie Gordon is now breathing down the neck of Scott Sharp. Scott Sharp, in an effort to maintain that second place, will actually have to try and protect himself. Oh, Courtney Smith is almost in the guardrail there on the left-hand side. Courtney Smith, one of the rookies in this series here. But Scott Sharp will have to look behind him and let Ron Fellows just creep away a little bit. Now, we saw Stu Hainer earlier on. We expected him to be one of the competitive cars here, but he was in all sorts of trouble, particularly down this front straight.
Let's see if we can learn more about Hainer's situation with Chris McClure in the pits.
Well, to a certain degree, his crew is mystified. They haven't been able to establish radio contact as he works his way around the circuit, but they believe he may have a transmission problem. They're looking for a certain answer from inside the cockpit. So far, they don't have it.
Leaders just completing lap number 7. The order: Ron Fellows, Scott Sharp, Robbie Gordon, then Paul Gentilozzi, Greg Pickett, Tommy Archer, and Les Lindley. I think that Stu Hainer has now gotten around Les Lindley. He takes over the 8th spot, followed by Jack Baldwin and George Robinson, rounding out the top 10. On board now with your leader, Ron Fellows. You see Tom Gloy racing across the dashboard. The former series champion now runs his own team, and Ron Fellows has taken his Trans Am career into the good hands of the former series winner.
He changed teams midway through last year, which is never a good situation for a driver, but now Ron Fellows obviously looks to have a very good package underneath him. This is the hairpin, the slowest corner on the racetrack. This is about 40 miles an hour. Now here's a long, long blast up through the gearbox, down past the front straight here. You see him select top gear here, right there, quick flick of the wrist.
Look at that huge piece of ventilation hose trying to bring cooler air
into the driver. These cars get so warm. Now this is the fastest part of the racetrack. Look, he makes 2 downshifts. He's gone down to 2nd gear. Nice, easy movements. Remember, these cars do have power steering. He's now in this very twisty right left section. Then he blasts out onto that long back section that's new this year. Slick a gear. Look how short the movements are and how quick the movements are changing gear.
Just a fraction of a second going up. Underneath the roadway, through the shadows.
Now look at Robbie Gordon trying to creep down the inside of Scott Sharp. We just caught a quick glimpse there. Back inside with the leader. This is the long, long drifting left-hander before we get back to this slow hairpin once again. This is a first gear hairpin.
That left-hander is a real driver's corner. He's sliding the car through there, going very quickly, maybe close to 100 miles an hour or so, and then hard on the brakes. Scott Sharp has gotten around. Scott Sharp is dropping back. You saw Robbie Gordon had gotten around him.
That's where we suspected. That's where we saw Ron Fellows made the move earlier on. Well, Robbie Gordon did exactly the same thing. It was the end of the back straight, but now look at Gentilozzi squeezes. Yes, he makes it.
Oh, shuts the door on the way out as well. Now Greg Pickett is the next car in line. We'll have to wait and see if Scott Sharp has perhaps lost a gear or something.
Sometimes you just lose momentum, and that is enough on a street circuit like this to lose 2 positions in less than 1 lap, which is what we just see here happening to Scott Sharp.
On to the backstretch now. You can see Greg Pickett in the number 6 white car on the left, looking for a way around Scott Sharp.
Now remember, Pickett saw exactly what Gentilozzi just did, so that's exactly what he thinks he can do. And in fact, I would say that he... Oh, look at Robbie Gordon down the inside of the leader.
Robbie Gordon making his bid for the lead. Ron Fellows will have to back up. Looks like Paul Gentilozzi might get a run at Fellows. You're on board with Fellows now, looking ahead at the new leader.
Brave, risky move. That's the hairpin that we spoke about. It's a first gear corner. Robbie Gordon shot right down the inside, and you saw what happened. He almost stalled his car, and in fact, in turn, had to almost stall Ron Fellows. Now he's in traffic.
Going around the lap car of Andy Porterfield. Ron Fellows right there. Now here's a guy who has not driven in this series before. Granted, he's driven in the GTO series in IMSA, which are similar cars. What is traffic going to mean to him here?
Well, traffic means that he has to anticipate what somebody ahead of him will do and watch behind him. And of course, Ron Fellows now hopes that Robbie Gordon is going to get caught in traffic. But what a great couple of moves we've just seen in the space of just 1.5 laps from Robbie Gordon. He sat back in a nice control 3rd place, didn't make any aggressive moves at all, and suddenly gets 2nd and then attacks and takes the lead. Great move by Robbie Gordon.
He has come a long way. Robbie Gordon started out in Orange, California as an off-road racer, pitching trucks around in the desert. They brought him to the racetrack, and he showed car owner Jack Roush that he was absolute magic on the pavement. They put him in the cars, though, and he started to bang up a little bit of equipment. He needed to learn maturity. He seems to have found it, and he leads in his Trans Am debut over Rob Fellows, Paul Gentilozzi, Scott Sharp. We'll be back for more action from Long Beach. On Shoreline Drive in Long Beach, California, at about 190 miles an hour. This is the view out the front window of Ron Fellows from Toronto, Canada, running 3rd in today's Tide Trans Am Tour season opener, Long Beach, California.
And what we see here is, look at Paul Gentilozzi managed to squeeze by. So Ron Fellows now has his hands full because he's slowly dropping back. I wonder, is this tire juggling act beginning to fall into place here? Because we know Stu Hayner, who we saw earlier on, he was one of the drivers who opted for a harder left front tire.
In fact, he's the only driver in the field who took the harder of the two compounds that Goodyear has brought here for these drivers and put it on the left front. Ooh, spinning there. Number 3, Tommy Archer.
I think he caught it. He got out of control, got her sideways on the way in, used up all the road right to the outside, and managed to gather the whole thing up before he actually made contact.
Looking about the back of Tommy Archer's Dodge Daytona. That's Les Lindley from Anaheim, California. Number 2 in career starts in Trans Am. Still looking for his first victory. Just a few years ago, he got so close, leading by 13 seconds on the last lap at the last corner. His engine quit.
And look at it close up. Look at the horsepower. Now he sneaks down the inside and makes it stick. More horsepower in that Chevrolet there.
Great move by Les Lindley.
We see Stu Hainer there just at the top of the picture, so he is still up and running. Whatever problem he had earlier on, look at Lindley, gets her sideways, kicks that back out very, very close to the wall. In fact, he has a sideways again. That is one of the problems here. The rear tires do tend to go off a little bit faster than the fronts and can get this sideways wheel spin action, which we see here.
This is Jerry Clinton or Walter Payton. I can't make out the number on the car.
So difficult to see the numbers on that car. We see the front nose cone is gone. This is one of Tom Gloy's cars.
Let's get more from the pits and Chris McClure.
Jerry Clinton checked into the pit just a moment ago. He had contact with someone or something on the course and hurt the left front. They changed one tire and stripped away all of the bodywork at the front and sent him back out. I asked Tom Gloy, the team owner and manager, what they're going to do with it if they'll try and reinstall another panel. He said they just haven't decided yet.
Well, they may not have the opportunity to do either as Jerry Clinton sits out there on the racetrack. Man trying to bring NFL football back to his native St. Louis, Missouri. Looking ahead now from Tommy Archer's car up ahead to Les Lindley. This is the battle for 6th place on the racetrack. We just passed Jerry Clinton's car. Let's take another look at what happened to him.
This is it. Now he has no front bodywork. That means also he has no front downforce. And we see what happens here. He simply cannot turn the car to make that corner. So the easiest thing to do and the safest thing to do is to just go wide and to stop and start the whole thing again.
Here's a good look at Jerry Clinton. Let's take a look at the running order. It is Gordon, Gentilozzi, Ron Fellows, Scott Sharp, Brett Pickett, Les Lindley, Tommy Archer, Stu Hainer, Jack Baldwin, and George Robinson in the top 10. Once again, back to that battle for 6th place. Les Lindley just ahead of Tommy Archer. These Dodge cars are such an incredible story. Just last November, the deal was done to bring these cars into the series. In 4 months, they built 2 cars, acquired another one as a test mule, tested 2,000 miles, and here they are on the grid for the first race of the season.
Right up behind Les Lindley. See how he closes up under braking, but that Chevrolet does seem to have a little bit more power down this front straight. There's the yellow flag. We see it still waving. They're still trying to clear off Jerry Clinton's car. That's it on the left-hand side. But now we're still back inside Tommy Archer's car. This is just very fast. Left, right S's, and then blast under the bridge here down this very fast and very bumpy back section.
Let's take a closer look now at this whole Dodge creation of the Archer brothers from Duluth, Minnesota. Chris McClure stopped by the paddock and learned more about the Dodge history and Trans Am and these cars.
A sight not seen in a Trans Am paddock since 1970 when Dodge decided to leave the series. Prior to that, they had found some success in Trans Am competition. In 1966, with the Dart model, 2 races were won by Dodge. In 1967, Dart won 1 more. Subsequent to that was the Challenger. It ran through 1970, but never did find the winner's circle, and they left the series. Now they're back, and a man largely responsible for that is Walter Voss. Welcome back. It looks like you're ready.
We are ready, and we've got 2 beautiful cars, and we're happy to be back in what we think is the premier road racing series in America.
And the Archer brothers will carry the mail in the cockpit for you. They're pretty good.
Bobby and Tommy Archer have raced for us since 1984. They've been successful in Jeep trucks and everything else they've run, and we think they'll have a very good year and take us back to the victory circle here at Trans Am.
Dodge is back for 92 in Trans Am, so it is the big 3 ready to rumble in the streets.
There's the number 98 car of Stu Hainer in the pits. We are under a full course yellow flag situation here at Long Beach. Giving Stu Hainer time to get some work done on that car, but as we saw earlier, it may be serious. He's been slipping backwards since the opening laps. You are on board with Ron Fellows. We'll take a quick time out during the yellow flag. Robbie Gordon leads in his very first Trans Am. Back at Long Long Beach, California, where we remain under a caution flag to get Jerry Clinton's crippled car off the racetrack. Right now, we'd like to show you what happened a few moments ago following the safety car. Watch back in the field, swinging back and forth across the track in 5th place. The power steering fluid.
We mentioned earlier on that these cars do in fact use power steering, but Greg Pickett was making very aggressive maneuvers down that back straight to keep those tires warm and clean. That has cost him his power steering setup, which now his arm muscles better be strong.
We mentioned at the top of the show that these Trans Am cars are very simple. In fact, many of them are almost identical. Chris McClure has more as we take a look at a track fact.
A lot of makes and models are represented in any Trans Am field, but under the current rules, it has become essentially a spec series. Now, this is Ron Fellows' Mustang, part of the Tom Gloy stable. The platform on which it rides comes from Riley Scott of Indianapolis. The Ford motor powers it, and of course the Mustang bodywork. But how much is this different from, say, a Camaro? Well, let's take a look. This is Jerry Clinton's car, another part of the Tom Gloy stable, but this happens to be a Camaro. The platform on which it rides comes from Riley Scott of Indianapolis. Same length overall as the Mustang, same width as the Mustang, same wheelbase as the Mustang. It does have a Chevrolet power plant and, of course, this Camaro skin. So what are the differences? Well, the aerodynamic package dictated by the two different outside skins, horsepower and reliability of the respective power plants, and, of course, the essential ingredient, the man behind the wheel. With another track back, I'm Chris McClure.
The cars continue to circulate behind the yellow flag. We're looking forward to a green when we return to the Sports Car Club of America season opener in Long Beach, California. High above Long Beach, California, Goodyear's newly repainted and renamed airship Eagle, based in nearby Carson, California, provides our aerial pictures. Today's pilot is Nick Nicolari from Lake Forest, California. Down to the start-finish line, we have a green flag. Paul Gentilozzi trying to overtake race leader Robbie Gordon, who shuts the doors.
Look at Ron Fellows down the outside of Gentilozzi, though.
Quick look on board Ron Fellows' car. Looks like he's going to try Gentilozzi on the outside, and that doesn't work at Long Beach.
It is so close on some of these restarts. Now, what surprised me is they actually exited a hairpin, and Robbie Gordon took the field down very slowly. That's what you're supposed to do, but very few drivers ever do that. But we saw a tremendous restart there.
I mentioned earlier, Robbie Gordon has been looking for that sort of racing maturity, the savvy, the conservativeness, to be able to hold back, preserve your tires, win a race in the late laps when it really counts. There he is, and he has really learned a lot. I've been watching him for about 3 years now, and he is the consummate racer now.
Oh, we see Scott Sharp had a little look down the inside of Ron Fellows. Ron Fellows saw exactly what he was going to do. Look at that Dodge, makes contact with the back of the Chevrolet, but Ron Fellows moved to the inside. Scott Sharp had nowhere to go.
On board now with Tommy Archer, looking ahead at Scott Sharp. And the Camaro begins to pull away from the Dodge as they come on to Shoreline Drive and go up through the gearbox.
Now we've had time to cool everything down, cool the tires down, and now it's a flat-out sprint from here to the end of the race. But just look how much that Camaro pulled away from the Dodge. We saw that earlier on, so it doesn't look as if the Dodge has quite the horsepower that they need at the moment. But remember, this is the first race in Trans Am since they returned.
Shaking the bugs out. 310 cubic inch V8s in these cars, in these Dodges, built by Joey Arrington, son of NASCAR Winston Cup legendary engine builder Buddy Arrington. Down the backstretch.
Robbie Gordon has breathing space, and look behind him now. Gentilozzi goes down the inside. Oh, he locks up that left front. Can he make the corner? Yes, he does, just about.
Right in front of Ron Fellows. The order is Gordon, Gentilozzi, Fellows, Scott Sharp, Tommy Archer, Les Lindley, Greg Pickett, George Robinson, Jack Baldwin, and Wayne Akers in the top 10. On board now with Ron Fellows, looking ahead at Paul Gentilozzi.
And now this is the Ford versus the Chevrolet Camaro sprint race down this front section. Remember, Gentilozzi has been a winner here before at Long Beach, but now look at the Ford. Oh, I was going to say he creeps up behind him, but he doesn't. Gentilozzi stays down on the inside, and again, Ron Fellows has to go to the outside line, which in fact is the faster line.
During that yellow flag, our third qualified car, Stu Hader from Yorba Linda, California, was pushed away. He's standing by now with Chris McClure.
Early speculation from the crew was a gearbox problem. Not that, but Stu Hainer just as critical.
Yes, we thought we had a great car going into this race. We did a few changes on the brakes, so we had to be a little timid in the beginning. And it's a good thing we did because we were a little backwards on our brakes. But we finally got that dialed in. By the time I got the brakes straightened out and the car was working, our elite sponsored Chevrolet Camaro sort of ended up with a misfire. We went around for a while and you know, we thought we would stay in there until the end of the race, but it turns out we may have dropped a valve.
Okay, Stuart Hainer, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And so Stuart Hainer is done. Meanwhile, back out on Shoreline Drive, going up through the gearbox, Tommy Archer reaching terminal velocity before the frenzied minuet of clutch, accelerator, and brake begins for the turn 1 and 2 complex. Let's listen. Tommy Archer's car, the slip-sliding Chevy Camaro.
He's still at it. Les Lilley sticks the power on the back of that car, and the rear end breaks loose, and he's having a great time this afternoon. Boy, we see all sorts of lines. Gentilozzi just went out of our picture there, down the middle of the road again. Remember, we'll look at Scott Sharp, sneaks down the inside, doesn't make it inside Ron Fellows. But they move to the middle of the road because it makes it extremely difficult for anybody trying to make a pass down the inside, and it's very, very bumpy. The tighter line you take on the inside of the corner, it gets worse with less grip.
There's a look at Robbie Gordon, who had a lead of 3.8 seconds before it was wiped out by the mid-race yellow flag. He now begins to stretch it out again from high above Shoreline Drive in Long Beach. Big lead for Robbie Gordon. He's out of the picture. There he is at the bottom of your screen, under braking.
The reason he has a comfortable lead, he's taking the racing line. See how wide he was? Paul Gentilozzi is protecting his position. Paul, in fact, may be holding up this train of cars behind him and making it actually easier for Robbie Gordon. Now, remember, Robbie Gordon sees that in his mirror, and it's exactly what he wants to see. Somebody's got to make a move here because it's going to stay status quo unless there's somebody is brave under braking at the end of this straight here and down the inside. They're not close enough right there. They're too far apart to make a move.
15 laps to go. We've completed 30. There you see Scott Sharp. Robbie Gordon in the red 15 leads. Gentilozzi, Fellows, and Scott Sharp. As the action continues here at Long Beach, I'm with you, Derek. Something has to happen soon. This is a race known for its upsets.
Scott Sharp is very good at saving his tires and being very fast at the end of the race. We're going to watch for that.
Managing tire wear on a car making close to 650 horsepower and doing it at top speed on a circuit like the one here at Long Beach that offers so little grip. Just one of the driving skills necessary for success on the Tide Trans Am Tour. Aboard once again with Canadian Ron Fellows, feet dancing between accelerator, brake, and clutch, sliding around on the rear bumper of second place Paul Gentilozzi. Robbie Gordon leads over Gentilozzi, Fellows, Sharp, and Archer. We'll give you a look at the top 15 as the action continues on the SCCA Tide Trans Am Tour. It's the season opener here at Long Beach, and we'll be right back. In Long Beach at the SCCA Tide Trans Am season opener. Down the inside in the yellow 33 comes defending series champion Scott Sharp. He takes third place from Canadian Ron Fellows.
Exactly what we said. Scott Sharp is one of the drivers who can keep control of his tires and his car and makes late race charges. Now, next in line, he's running third, but next in line is right ahead of him, Paul Gentilozzi, again in a Camaro.
That's right, it was third place that Scott Sharp took. Last year in a race, I believe it was at Portland, Oregon, Scott Sharp learned what saving your tires can do. The master strategist on that Buzz McCall team, a fellow named Will Moody, up front looked like maybe Paul Gentilozzi lighting up those tires again under braking. Will Moody told Scott Sharp, conserve your tires, drop back. He let 6 cars get ahead of him, came back and won the race.
We see him with those quick dabs on the brakes again from those rear lights. We can tell that. Now we're looking back from the back of Tommy Archer's car, looking back at Les Lindley.
Unbelievable how fast that scenery goes by at 170 miles an hour or so. Another look. This course is so hard on tires and transmissions and brakes. brakes.
And particularly brakes. We've seen Paul Gentilozzi look at Scott Sharp now. He is absolutely all over the back of Gentilozzi. Gets the car sideways coming out onto this front straight. But now watch what Gentilozzi does. Again, I bet he'll take the middle of the line, the middle of the road. He does exactly the same thing again. Scott Sharp has to go down the outside. Very difficult move here. Very difficult move. And in fact, he can't make it. But he realizes Robbie Gordon. Now, we wanted to see these two have a fair battle all afternoon, but Robbie Gordon is right ahead of Paul Gentilozzi.
The gap from first to second, last time by the start-finish line, 1.9 seconds.
Okay,
Paul Gentilozzi driving an offensive or defensive race at this point?
Defensive, very much defensive. Now, look what's wrong here. Scott Sharp is about 3 or 4 car lengths behind. He's not going to be able to make the move down here. Look at the cars weave and bob under braking. That's how hard they're on these brakes. The car fighting to keep that traction, that grip, in an effort to actually turn in and make the apex. There's Robbie Gordon. He's right there. So if Scott Sharp can get by Gentilozzi, we could have a real doozy.
We mentioned there are 2 tire compounds here. Both Scott Sharp and Paul Gentilozzi chose the softer Goodyear compound for their front tires. The harder compound is on all 4 wheels of Robbie Gordon's car. He may have more rubber at this point. Weaving to one side and then to the other. Down the inside goes Scott Sharp to take back second place.
Great move, a great move. He went down the outside, so Paul Gentilozzi thought he was clear. And then at the last possible moment, Scott Sharp slices down the inside. Now, next man ahead of him is Robbie Gordon.
34 laps complete. Working lap 35 of 45 laps in the race. Scott Sharp will see if he can open up a gap now on Paul Gentilozzi.
That was a great move. Now Gentilozzi again has a look down the inside, but realistically he knows he's not close enough because Gentilozzi is not as strong as Sharp under braking because we saw him lock his tires earlier on. Now this is exactly what happened. Look at Gentilozzi down the inside of the racetrack. He thinks he has the line. Sharp goes from the outside right to the inside. Now he's alongside. Gentilozzi has no chance to take the apex. Great move by Scott Sharp.
Down into the turn 1 and 2 complex. Sharp now in second place, but look at the gap already out of the picture. Robbie Gordon is running away from second place Scott Sharp. This is the battle for second. Give you a look at the running order as we watch this battle continue into turns 1 and 2, where Sharp took second place away last time around.
We saw traffic be a factor earlier on in the race as we see Scott Sharp just slide through this section again. We see the brake lights again, a little dab. Now this is the long back section here, but Scott Sharp needs a little break in traffic now. He needs Robbie Gordon to get held up a little bit.
Just 24 years of age, Scott Sharp, the youngest SCCA national champion at age 18 back in 1986.
That's it. That was the leader. Just went out of your picture there. He's now going into the hairpin. Scott Sharp sets up for it and then goes this long drag down the front straight. So it's Ford Mustang versus Chevrolet Camaro.
Sharp opening up a gap now. Gentilozzi dropping back.
And Robbie Gordon continues to open up that gap. Now maybe he was controlling the situation, just sitting out far enough ahead, not going too hard to use up those tires, maybe knowing that Scott Sharp in fact gets very strong at the end of a race.
Another look out the back of Tommy Archer's car. Meanwhile, up front, the gap from first to second up to 3.38 seconds. More from the pit lane now with Chris McClure.
Well, you fellas have been watching the adventures of Paul Gentilozzi. We wonder, of course, Jim Fraser, if it might be a problem with brakes or tires or both.
No, the car's working fine. He's running it as hard as we can. We went with a slightly harder compound, and he's just running it as hard as he can, and we're just hanging on.
And Paul Gentilozzi always runs it hard.
Paul Gentilozzi driving a team car, to that being driven by George Robinson, who has gotten around Jack Baldwin and Greg Pickett, now up into 7th place. Oh, the 32 car, this is Bobby Archer, and he's in a dangerous spot. He's taking those tires off the wall on the left.
He can get out of there, but the problem will be, can they move those tires back, or will they be forced to actually bring out another full course yellow, which is very late in the race. Look at that, he's done some heavy damage in under that bodywork because we saw some fluid from the radiator, which hopefully now he will not distribute all over the racing line. I don't think he will, though. I didn't see it come out as he drove away.
They're
Watching the battle for 7th place, number 74 is George Robinson from Texas. And there is number 25, symbolic of the 25th anniversary of the Chevrolet Camaro, the Hot Wheels Chevy of Jack Baldwin from Marietta, Georgia.
We just spoke about Jack Baldwin. We said we hadn't seen him all afternoon here. He hasn't had the best of weekends. He's had some engine problems. This is a new deal he has with Hot Wheels as his sponsor this year. Worked very hard to put this whole program together. But now he's a teammate of Scott Sharp, but hasn't had the type of weekend that Jack really deserves or needs or wants.
Jack Baldwin, former Rookie of the Year. What a great team. He's driving a car sponsored by Mattel Toys. His teammate Scott Sharp's driving a car sponsored by Duracell Batteries. A match made in marketing heaven. There's a look at George Robinson, 32 years old, from Texas, where he owns the 74 Hunting Ranch. And that's the sponsorship on his car, hence the number 74 on it. The gap now down to 1.9 seconds from Robbie Gordon to Scott Sharp. Robinson running 7th, Jack Baldwin 8th. Got battles all the way around the racetrack. We'll take a quick timeout and return as the lead continues to dwindle. Robbie Gordon over Scott Sharp with Paul Gentilozzi, Ron Fellows, and Les Lindley. Plenty more still to come from Long Beach, California. Stay with us. Back at Long Beach, Scott Sharp down to the inside on the left against Robbie Gordon. We have a change in the lead in the waning laps of the Sports Car Club of America Ty Trans Am Tour opener, but Robbie Gordon is right there. He's going to want to
Very brave down the inside. We saw him do it earlier on. Now look what happened here. Both cars are stalled.
There was an oil flag. There was an oil flag at the beginning of the turn.
Now look what happened here. Scott Sharp cannot make the turn. Ron Fellows slides through. Les Lindley slides through. Tommy Archer slides through. What a brave move, but I'm not sure he should have made that move because the oil flag was clearly being displayed.
What a disaster for Scott Sharp. He got nudged out to the wall. The radius of his turn widened out, and he just couldn't get it done. He gave him at least 3 places.
Very aggressive move by Robbie Gordon, but I'm sure this will be argued well after the checkered flag flies here, because I'm not sure he's allowed to make that move when the yellow and red oil flag is flying. Now remember, he didn't see that necessarily, although he should have. It's the driver's responsibility, but he shot down the inside. There's the flag. It's still out. I'm not sure he's allowed to make that move. But Robbie Gordon on the road is leading. He has a huge gap now.
You can bet Scott Sharp is a very angry driver right now. He has just a couple of laps left before the checkered flag to try to get it done. There goes your leader, Robbie Gordon. Paul Gentilozzi runs 2nd, Ron Fellows 3rd, then Les Lindley, Scott Sharp, Tommy Archer, George Robinson, Jack Baldwin, Greg Pickett, and Wayne Akers moves up into the top 10.
And you can be sure that Scott Sharp is livid with what just happened. He drove a perfectly controlled race, knew exactly what he was doing, slowly inched his way, closed down on Robbie Gordon, made the pass, and then it all fell apart.
We are told that that was a legal pass despite the presence of the flag. Robbie Gordon has his lead. Right now, let's take a look back at what happened to Bobby Archer. We saw him limping around with fluid coming out under the front wheels. He got it up to speed, and look what happened.
This is it here. Fluid coming down onto those front tires gives him no grip, and he plants it straight into the wall.
One more look at Robbie Gordon, who has an IndyCar career ahead of him. He also drove at the Daytona 500, got up to 5th this year before mechanical problems sidelined him.
Now, he will get away with that pass because the oil flag, in fact, is only a warning flag. It's not a yellow or a waved yellow danger flag, which constitute a no passing area. So I'm even learning, getting a little brush up on the rules here as we go along. But a very brave move. However, I bet you Scott Sharp, and he has some words afterwards.
There's the number 6 car, Greg Pickett, who we saw earlier lose the fluid out of his power steering system. He's been trying to muscle that 2,500-pound car. He was 9th when he went off.
Now this is what happened at the lead. See, they come down to the hairpin. Now look, neither car can go anywhere. Robbie Gordon is almost stalled, but look what he did to Scott Sharp. He left him no way to make the turn. I think these two boys are going to argue about this afterwards. However, He's aggressive and he's leading.
We are on the last lap. Greg Pickett cannot be moved. Robbie Gordon in his Trans Am debut is about to sweep the table, barring any incident in the next half lap. He came out. He and Scott Sharp traded the top position in the time charts in each of the practice sessions, but Robbie Gordon took the pole and has led most of this race en route to a debut victory. Quite an afternoon.
We've seen him be very aggressive in the past. He's had words with people in the past. But you know, talented, new, young rising stars have a habit of getting into controversial situations. They've also got a habit of winning and going on to be major stars. I think we're watching another one on his way to just sticking that experience under his belt.
One last flourish there, skidding the rear end out. And down to the checkered flag comes Robbie Gordon. A terrific drive, great battle with another future star, Scott Sharp. Robbie Gordon, your winner today. Scott Sharp comes home behind Ron Fellows in 4th position. Paul Gentilozzi 2nd. Margin of victory unofficially 4.77 seconds. There's a look from Ron Fellows' car. We'll be back to meet our winner and sum things up from Long Beach when we return to the SCCA Tide Trans Am Tour season opener. ESPN Speed World coverage of the Tide Trans Am Tour from Long Beach, California has been brought to you by Kenwood for the ultimate listening experience in your home or car. And by Budweiser, the king of beers. With that clean, crisp, cold taste, nothing beats a Bud. With a dramatic late race pass under the oil flag, Robbie Gordon from Orange, California has won in his Tide Trans Am Tour debut. He's standing by now with Chris McClure.
As he climbed out of the car, he said, man, that's racing. What about that final pass?
You know, Scott's car was making pretty good power today. He got by me down the back straightaway and outbroke me into the turn 5. In turn 7, I was right back on him, and I came around the outside of the sweeper, which would be 6, went inside on 7, and there was oil, so we just kind of slid through the oil, and we never touched or anything, and he couldn't make the corner. I think he got in the oil also and just couldn't make the corner. He had to stick in reverse and back up.
Just about a perfect weekend for you.
Just about a perfect weekend. The Whistler Mustang was just running great. Jack Roush, Norm, Ray, the whole crew, they just did a great job. What more could you ask for?
All right, thank you, Chris. Congratulations to Robbie Gordon. Here's a look at our final results. Gordon sweeping the table. Pole and victory here at the Trans Am season opener. Paul Gentilozzi comes home 2nd, followed by Canadian Ron Fellows. Scott Sharp, the defending series champion. Tommy Archer brings the new Dodge Daytona home where he started it in 5th place. Les Lindley comes home in 6th, followed by Scott Sharp's teammate Jack Baldwin, George Robinson, Wayne Akers in 9th, and Randy Ruhlman comes home 10th. Here's a look at the rest of our finishers. Jim Durhog, the all-time leader in starts, finishes 11th, followed by Michael Dingman, Steve Anderson, Greg Pickett, and Glenn Fox. 16 through 20, Andy Porterfield, Courtney Smith, John Anderson, Bobby Archer, and Bob Patch. 21 through 25, Stu Hayner, Walter Payton, Jerry Clinton, Deborah Gregg, and Mike Downs. And our final 3 finishers, Skip Panzarella, Wally Owens, and Richard Valentine. There is a look at Scott Sharp's car, parked forlornly near Victory Lane.
Near Victory Lane. That is the problem, that little word near.
Chris McClure has caught up with Scott Sharp.
Well, Bob, we tracked down Scott Sharp here near the Trans Am paddock, already out of his driver's suit, as you can see. Obviously, the critical moment of the race. Your perspective?
Well, Robbie put a pretty good move on me. I got to hand it to him. Usually, you can't even get down in there on your own on the inside and be able to make it around the corner. And when he went down underneath me, I knew it was going to be hard for me to make the corner. And he drove me a little wide. And once I was faced with that, I was either hit the wall with the front of the car or put it in reverse, and I didn't need to blow out my power steering or something doing that, so I just chose to put it in reverse, and unfortunately, you guys got by me.
He said you two never really came together. Is that correct?
Oh, I don't know. We never touched. So
fair racing maneuver, you think?
I guess, yeah, it falls under the fair category.
Well put, Scott. Here are our point standings after one race. Robbie Gordon leads Paul Gentilozzi, but neither of those drivers is set to run the complete Tide Trans Am season. Therefore, the battle for the championship will go on between series regulars Ron Fellows, Scott Sharp, and Tommy Archer. In the manufacturers' battle after one event, Ford, by virtue of Robbie Gordon's victory, leads Chevrolet and Dodge. The first battle in the season-long war between America's big 3 manufacturers has gone to Ford. I'm Bob Varsha. For Derek Daly and Chris McClure, thanks for being with us. Robbie Gordon wins in his Trans Am debut. So long for now from Long Beach, California.